Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us from, and welcome back to yet another episode of Unprepared to Entrepreneur, the channel that brings you real, raw, and often untold stories of entrepreneurship and sometimes financial planning. So this is the second episode on our series. I introduced a new series in our last episode, and this series we are calling it Journey to Financial Wealth. This series is specifically for people who are serious about securing their financial future. On this episode today, we will be talking about contractual agreements, contractual investments, and what is also known as endowment plans. I think it's commonly known as endowment plans as well. And before we start, first I want to allow my guests, sorry, I completely forgot about you. Please, Alfred, introduce yourself for those who are seeing you for the first time before we get into the subject.
Thank you very much. And hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Alfred Mathu. I'm a financial doctor, and I speak to people on all money matter related issues. I consult with an organization called the HISA Africa Insurance Agency, which is an intermediary of two very customer-centric financial giants, the Absa Life and the Old Mutual Life. I speak to people of all walks of life, young people, old people, those with money, those without much money, the learned ones, the ones that are not as learned, because financial conversations are conversations for people of all walks of life. And I'm very, very happy to be here once again to discuss further on financial planning and especially on personal financial journey.
Karibu sana, Mathu. Why financial doctor? I don't think I've ever asked you that question. How did you coin financial doctor?
You know, there are very many people in this country that are financially sick and they don't know. Everyone thinks that they are doing what they need to be doing with their money. But when you look at how many people have been able to achieve what we call ideal financial wellness, statistics are showing us that only 3% of Kenyans have actually achieved or are almost achieving the financial wellness. The rest of us
3%.
are doing hide and seek. You will, from the beginning of your financial journey, of beginning of your career to the end, you've been thinking that you're doing justice to your money, but all that you're doing is injustice. And the saddest reality with financial planning is that you only get to know that you are on the wrong path when you are at the finish line. At that time, you've lost the time, you've lost your energy, you've lost the resources, and there's nothing like going back. The fate is already sealed.
Yeah.
Can we start becoming very purposeful in having a desired fate sealed for us? A desired fate sealed for us. Because a lot of the people are actually going to have a bit of cry at the end. You get to the finish line, you have no money for retirement. You get to the finish line, you cannot be able to maintain your lifestyle. You get to the finish line, you have to be doing compositions to your children so that they can pay for you some bills. You get to the finish line, you're reduced to a lifestyle that you didn't desire. But you know what? With only a decision today, you can be able to turn that whole story upside down. Yeah.
Wow, that is so scary. We need to action today. So the conversation today, like I mentioned earlier, we are talking about contractual
investments.
Keep forgetting.
Contractual investments as a solution for your medium-term financial goals. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And they are popularly known as?
The endowment investments.
Thank you so much. Those are the ones we are talking about. And we touched on this in the last episode where we were reviewing the journey you took from 3,000 to drawing 38 million, which was so inspiring. And I've heard from my audience, a couple of them have actually started, because the question you asked me, Anne, if I ask you, do you have 3,000 today? The answer would be yes. Why are you not doing it? And, you know, some people listened and they actioned on that. There's a comment that was left on that episode, and I want us to tackle it because I think it's important. There's a gentleman by the name Titus who said, and I'll put it on the screen, I am not hating by any means. This wise man has a lot of wisdom, especially the bit about living below your means. But back of the hand calculations, well, not really back of the hand, but on Excel, on an Excel sheet, shows that contributing 17 million over 23 years and getting 38 million Kenya shillings is approximately 3.6 to 4.5 annual return on investment, depending on how you spread the monthly contributions. Keep in mind the later larger amounts have less time to compound. In the period in question, so this gentleman, Titus, was saying every major asset class has performed better than 8% per annum. I felt like this comment was a valid one, and I wanted to ask you, you being our financial doctor, we rely heavily on your knowledge. What do you think this gentleman meant, and can we get into the annual return conversations when it comes to contractual investments?
Thank you very much, and asante sana. The question coming from Titus is a well thought out question, and I want to give a bit of background before we can get to addressing the little thing.
Yes.
When I talk about the financial journey, I have several talked about being prepared from the onset. Prepare your emergency fund. When you build your emergency fund, you then start the next conversation of investing. When it comes to investments, I've talked about two broad ways of doing investments. There's what we call the contractual investment, and there's what we call the non-contractual investment. Now, the non-contractual investment is a platform where you invest as and when, and you never get into a contract. When you have some money, you can invest. The returns are as agreed upon by the investing organization. You can also withdraw your money as and when you want, because there's no contract. There are no entry or exit terms. You can put in the money when you want. For the time the money is going to be that fund, it will continue earning you interest in the agreed rate. For a contractual investment, this is a different ballgame. When you go into a contractual investment, you are getting into a contract. The terms of the contract are spelled out. Maybe you want to be putting 50,000 shillings every month the next 5 years. And during the term of the contract, the investing company is one doing the investment for you and also taking care of risk that will be exposed to between now and the 5th year. Some of the risks may be around death, may be around disability, may be around critical illness. So the company has absorbed that risk for you. And on the 5th year, they are going to give you a particular amount of money, which is a matured fund, which is a sum total of the amount you invested, plus any returns that money generated. A contract, when you get into a contract, you will not walk in and walk out as you wish. Because for the company to make value and for it to make value from this particular engagement, both parties must stick to the terms of the contract. That you're doing 5 years, not 1 year. You're doing 50,000 shillings, not 5,000 shillings. And, well, there could be room for adjusting the amounts or adjusting the term, but again, everything has to be stipulated in that particular contract. Now, having said that, I have also severally said that when it comes to doing your financial plan, the budget that will enable you to navigate in this journey should be a very elaborate budget that, if you adopt what I recommended last time, I talked about 25, 50, 25. 25, 50, 25. And I went ahead to say a gentleman called Warren Buffett recommended this formula because a lot of people will never prioritize investments. So according to him, we should be spending the balance of investment. When you make money, the first portion of 25% is supposed to be for building your investments. The second portion of 50% is for taking care of your needs. And that portion of 25% is taking care of your lifestyle. I want to forget about the 50 and the 25% for the needs and the lifestyle. Let me come back to this 25% that is meant for the investment. This 25% that is meant for investment will then be broken down into the 3 instruments. In the short term, we'll build an emergency. The emergency fund should take 20% of the 25%. And that should be able to help you build an emergency account or an emergency fund with a threshold of 3 to 6 times of your monthly financial requirements. Then it goes ahead to say 50% of the 25% is meant for your medium-term investments. And this is where we have the likes of contractual investments. This is where we have the likes of education policy investment. They come in the medium term. Now, this 50% should be able to handle all the medium-term investments, and you're looking at anything between 5 years to approximately 12 years, depending on your current age. For a person that is young, you might even want to have a 5 to 20 years for medium term. For a person that is old, a 5 to 10 year might actually find you in your medium term. Now, in the long term, we have got the retirement investment fund. 30% of the 25% is for building your long-term investment fund. Now, I want us now to come to this element of the contractual investment, which is within the medium term. When you take up a contractual investment, as I said from the beginning, the amount of money that you're putting into a contractual plan will be invested for a specific period of time. Generally speaking, in our Kenyan situation, the minimum stipulated by the Insurance Act is 5 years. The maximum will be anything else. So you can invest for a minimum of 5 years upwards. The amount that you put into this particular fund is not just meant for pure investment, but it comes with added benefits that will take care of the risks. Because let me say, for example, Anne, you want to take up an investment because now, say you are 37 years today, and your intention of going into this contractual investment is to build a fund which will help you to buy a house at the age of 45. So if you're 37 years today, in how many years will you be 45? It will be about 8 years.
8 years.
8 years. So we already have a target that Anne has done her research and found out that a good house for her will go for anything 15, 16 million. She needs to have 15, 16 million shillings in the next 8 years. So in a contractual investment, we will compute for you the premiums which you'll have to be putting into the contractual investment, either as a flat amount or an amount that you can escalate every year at a rate of 5 to 10% to be able to give you a minimum of 16 or 15 million shillings in the next 8 years. But then we are also cognizant of the fact that Anne has got a child, has got a daughter, who is depending on Anne 100%. And in as much as Anne has this target of 15 million shillings in the next 8 years, and which money is going to be used to buy or build a house, there are these other people who are depending on her, and I give a perfect example, her daughter. As we kick off the journey now, and the goal is to have the 15 million, we are cognizant of the risks that you are exposed to, and from now to the 45th birthday. Maybe I want to hear from you. Between now and 45, what are some of the risks that you think you'll be exposed to?
I could get sick.
You could get sick.
I could get into like a car accident and
get into a car accident,
disabled.
Which could lead to disability, or even death.
Or death.
Yes.
Touch wood.
Okay.
I have a daughter.
God forbid. Now, let's even look at those 3 risks. That between now and the age of 45, Anne does not know what might happen to her life. All that she knows is that she's committed to an agenda of building 15 million shillings in the next 8 years. And she's also aware that somebody, 1 or 2, is depending on her. And she has agreed to a contractual premium of, say, when you work backwards, maybe looking at a premium of about, say, 45,000 shillings per month. That Anne is going to be investing into this contractual fund, which is called the Endowment, a premium of 45,000 shillings every month. And every year, she wants to increase this amount by 5%, so that by the 8th year, she has a fund of 15 million shillings, having considered even the inflation between now and the 8th year. Now, let's consider the first scenario. And God forbid, between now and the 8th year, Anne is diagnosed with a terminal illness. God forbid. There are enough terminal illnesses. Touch wood. There are enough terminal illnesses. Cancer is the biggest monster. We got heart problems. We got kidney problems. We got paralysis. We got blindness. We got heart failure. There are many terminal illnesses. And the Anne I'm talking about is not necessarily this Anne. I'm talking to the many Annes that are here with us. Now, if anything happened to Anne on the first year, Anne wanted to invest for 8 years. But on the first year, she is diagnosed with a terminal illness, and her financial destiny has now been completely changed. Now, instead of focusing on building the investment, she's now focusing on bills in the hospital. Now, what are we going to do to ensure that Anne will still get the house, and the child that is depending on her will still have the cushion for her education requirements? That is now where risk management comes in. With a contractual investment, you are given security that in the event of terminal illness between now and the expiry of the contract, a lump sum of money is going to be paid to you as sum assured, and what you call the critical illness is going to be paid to you, so that can lessen the burden of paying the bills in the hospital. Because some of the burdens may actually push you beyond the medical coverage. You've got a medical cover for 2 million, but then the financial requirement for the critical illness may go beyond the 2 million. So assuming that you've got to be taken to India for operation, assuming you're going to be taken to South Africa, assuming you're going to be admitted in Nairobi Hospital or Akan or Mpisha or the major hospitals in Kenya, and the amount required is more than the 2 million shillings that you are covered, where is the extra money going to come from? Your critical illness benefit in the contractual investment comes in handy. We give up to 5 million shillings, depending on how much you're paying or depending on the sum assured. We give up to 5 million shillings for critical illness. The medical cover you have today pays the hospital, but the critical illness in the contractual investment pays into your bank account. So that this money now will help you lessen the burden of the bills that you're paying the hospital. And also when you are in the hospital admitted, that some of the financial obligations that you normally handle every month when you are at work, now they can be handled by the portion that you've been paid courtesy of the critical illness. And I hope you can see it now.
Yeah.
Assuming you don't have the critical illness rider or that critical illness benefit, what does that mean? Chances are very, very high that if you deplete your medical insurance, the next casualty will be the investment that you're already doing for the house. You might now withdraw it to help you pay off the bills.
Yes.
But because we don't want you to remain firm to the agenda, that is why we're giving you an option that will give you the financial cushion, and so that you don't touch the money that is meant for buying the house. Let me tell you the second thing around the critical illness. The moment you are diagnosed with a critical illness, you have a plan of 8 years, but on the second year or the first year you've been diagnosed with terminal illness, and a benefit of critical illness has been paid to you, from that day onwards, until the 8th year, you will not make any more contribution. The contractual investment has got what called a waiver of premium. That waiver of premium kicks in and takes over paying the premiums for you up to the 8th year. You'll still be entitled the full fund. And that's why I want everyone to hear. Because it is the information that a lot of people never get. If you take a contractual investment and which has given you an additional benefit in case of critical illness, in the event you are diagnosed with a terminal illness before the expiry of the contract, that severe illness or the critical illness benefit will pay you a benefit directed to your bank account. Your own medical insurance, if you have, and most of the Kenyans don't have anyway, your medical insurance will pay the hospital. In the event that that money the hospital was charging is actually not covered fully by the medical insurance, the critical illness benefit will come and help you pay off the balance. And whatever money that remains will also be able to give you the financial flexibility. You've got some money that remains just to be able to cushion you now that you've been diagnosed with an illness. Besides which, from that date up to the expiry of the contract, in your case 8 years, the waiver of premium kicks in and takes care of the premiums from that day until the maturity. So that even if you are sick, you'll still have the money to buy the house. Because even sick people need houses. Even sick people need to have a good place they can call home. So why should we not support you to buy the house because you got sick? We are making it possible for you to buy the house by giving you those two benefits. That at the point of sickness, you'll be given a lump sum to reduce the financial burden. And from that day onwards, we take over paying. This is done through the waiver of premium benefit that kicks in and takes care of the premiums from that day to the expiry of the contract. What a lovely benefit this is.
Very.
Now, let me tell you now where the Kenyans come in. A lot of them complain that, you see, I contributed into that policy for 8 years and I never got sick. So they think it's a loss because you never got sick. And because I contributed for 8 years and the critical illness was never paid because I never got sick, they think it's a loss.
Yeah.
I want to tell you that's why we get it wrong. That risk, if it hit you at whatever stage, your destiny is actually going to be changed.
You're done completely.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. Why is it that people insure their cars? You're not insuring because you're going to have an accident.
Many
but
years we don't.
In the unlikely event that you get an accident, you'll be cushioned.
Yes.
Why is it so difficult then to also have a similar cushion in the event of critical illness? You are the one driving the car, you bought it, you've insured it, but you think you shouldn't insure your life. You shouldn't insure yourself in case of a critical illness. I think that is understanding that people need to have today to realize that this is a very, very important benefit. Let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, if there's anything that is giving people nightmares today, it is a diagnosis of a terminal illness. And the realization that the people that you thought were your friends are actually just not your friends. They'll run away when they hear that you are sick. They'll run away when they hear there's a fundraising coming. None of them will volunteer to be a chief guest in your fundraising. So rather than go through that agonizing, episode of looking for money to pay bills, why not have your critical illness cover kick in to support you pay the bills quietly, and you'll still be able to achieve the bigger agenda of buying the house on the 8th year, or the 10th year, or the 5th year.
Yeah.
That's the first benefit. Let me talk about the second benefit. And I still use Anne as the example here. Our agenda is to buy or build a house in the next 8 years. 8 years from now, Anne is the Anne I'm talking about is going to be 45. And we have agreed to put a premium of, say, 40,000 shillings per month, an amount that you're going to be increasing every year at a rate of 5%, so that on the 8th year, you're going to have your 16 or 15 million. Second year of the investment, and which you have done how much contribution? You've done, take 40,000 by 12, that's about 480. And the second year, 40 has increased by 5% to maybe 42. You multiply that by 12, that now will be about 510. Now, the combination, the first and second year total premium is just short of a million shillings.
Yeah,
you've contributed 1 million shillings by the end of the second year. And then Anne is involved in an accident on Thika Road. God forbid. And she dies. We only have 1 million shillings saved. But her agenda was to build a fund of 15 million to buy or build a house that she can call home, her and her daughter. Besides that, there is a daughter who needs money for school fees. Do you know with a contractual investment, one of the benefits that is added on the investment benefit is called accidental death benefit. That if the member dies within the term of the contract and dies as a result of an accident, an amount called a sum assured is going to be paid to the next of kin, so that they can carry on with your financial agenda, whether it's buying the house, whether it's educating your child. And in this case, a 40,000 shillings premium gives your family a guarantee of about 7.5 million. So if you paid 1 year, second year, end of second year you die, you've contributed 1 million. At that point, if there was accidental death, the payout to the family would be 7.5 million. The 7.5 million shillings is, of course, many times more than the 1 million shillings you had contributed.
That's true. And
that is not where the financial cushion comes in. Let me tell you something, Anne. A couple walked into my office in 2022, April. Husband and wife. And they were both into property business. And a conversation that we had, they decided to take their investment matters more seriously, because the gentleman was then at 52 and the lady was at 46. And the conversation that we had was to use a contractual investment platform to build funds for retirement. But of course, while you're doing it, you're also giving security to the children who at that time were in campus. There are 2 children in campus and 1 was in primary school. So they agreed, as we do this investment for retirement, the money that you are putting into the program will not only be for our own retirement, but will also give cushion to our children if anything happened to us. Believe it or not, this gentleman was settled on a premium of 75,300. He paid 1 month. He signed off the contract in April. He paid end of April. May, around the 26th of May, the guy had an accident at the village market and he died on the spot. He only contributed 75,399. The wife was given 10 million shillings. And she was given the 10 million shillings because of what we call accidental death benefit. Because the accidental death benefit now is supposed to safeguard our cushion, the people who are depending on you. Now that you're no longer going to be there, how do we handle the financial obligations that you used to handle when you are alive? There's school fees to be paid, there's house rent to be paid, there is maintenance of the family. 10 million shillings was paid to the wife. And that is how she has managed to take care of the children. Now the 2 boys are done with the university, and the last one should now be maybe finishing now, almost finishing the Form 4. And I think for me, that is one of the biggest testimonials I can never give of what accidental death benefit will do to a family. We are taking this benefit, or we are taking the construction investment because we know we want to have peace of mind that whether you are there or not, your financial obligations would actually be taken care of if anything happened to you prematurely. And when you commit to a contractual investment, you get a guarantee of what called a sum assured, which is many times multiples of that amount you are paying, many multiples of that amount that you are paying. If you are paying 40,000 shillings, the sum assured will be about 7.5 million shillings. And that's an amount that is going to be paid to your next of kin if you died earlier due to an accident. So that's the second one. Let me go to the third one. And how about you've signed up, we want to buy the house in the next 8 years, you put in 40,000 shillings every month, and this amount you want to be increasing it every year at a rate of 5%. On the second year, Anne gets into an accident, she does not die, but is left permanently disabled. How will you now be able to achieve the agenda of the house, bought or built on the 8th year, with a situation that you never planned for, disability?
Yes.
The moment you become disabled, again, this contractual investment comes in. It will pay off what you call accidental disability benefit. Accidental disability benefit, because you've been disabled due to an accident, and immediately waive all the future premiums of that contract. The company will start paying the premiums for you. Yours is just wait until the 8th year, you get a lump sum.
You get the money
that you intended from the onset for buying or building the house. So what you are trying to say here is that regardless of the risks that we are going to be exposed to, the 15 million shillings is a constant. It's still going to be paid. Because if you die before, there's a lump sum to be paid.
Yes.
If you got into an accident and died before, there's a lump sum to be paid.
Yes.
If you became disabled, there's a lump sum to be paid, and the future premiums are going to be waived so that you still be able to get the maturity benefit. Let me talk to you about another benefit that is coming with the construction investment. And this is also a game changer. Game changer. That the government has looked at the investment situation in our country and realized that only 3% of Kenyans are doing proper investments, contractual investments, and especially long-term investments. To be able to give people motivation to invest more in the long term, they removed the taxes. This 40,000 shillings that you are paying every month, and which is going to give you a maturity benefit of 15 million shillings to buy your house. Can you imagine on the 8th year, you are going to be given a guaranteed tax exempted amount. The 15 million shillings is guaranteed. So from the day one, you know this is the amount you're going to be paid on the 8th year. So that amount remains unchanged. And secondly, it is not going to be taxed. You'll be given 15 million shillings without any tax.
Without any tax.
You show me where you can invest in Kenya today that you're not going to be taxed.
Nowhere.
It's the only avenue, and which the government is using as a motivator to help people do more long-term savings. Because with people doing more long-term savings, we actually grow the economy of the country. What may spoil our financial success is spending today. If only people can start putting some of their monies into reserves that are invested, that will also help the government to grow, in terms of the economy. Now, I want to give the very last benefit. The very last, the last two benefits. There's a benefit that comes with a contractual investment called hospitalization benefit.
Okay.
What would happen today if Anne got involved in an accident? She does not die, she does not become disabled, but she's admitted in hospital for maybe 5 days, 10 days, 15 days. This particular program pays what we call a hospitalization benefit. This hospitalization benefit is a benefit that is payable to you every single day that you are going to be admitted in hospital. Let's say, for example, this particular program will be paying every single day 0.2% of your insured amount. Remember I said your insured amount, if you're doing 40,000, will be about 7.5 million shillings.
Yes.
So 0.2% of 7.5 will be about 15,000. So every single day that you are in hospital admitted due to the accident, you are entitled 15,000 shillings as a benefit, hospitalization benefit. That amount is going to be paid to you on the day you are discharged from hospital. However, for you to qualify, you must be in hospital for more than 1 day. So if you're only admitted for a day and discharged the next day, you don't qualify. If you're admitted for 3 days, you'll be able to qualify. And the maximum number of days that this benefit will be paid to you is 30 days. So if you are admitted in hospital for 50 days, The company will only pay 30 days.
30 days.
Tuko pamoja?
Yes.
So 30 days times 15,000. That would be another 450,000. Then during that 1 month that you didn't work because you are admitted in hospital, there is an element of 450,000 shillings that will be paid to you on the day you are discharged, so that you can have some financial cushion. That when you go home, you can still be able to meet the bills, which are most likely pending because you never worked that month. And especially assume of people who are paid on commission. That 1 month that you've been in hospital due to an accident, there's no income.
Yeah.
Due to now that you have a hospitalization benefit, the amount that is going to be paid when you are discharged will actually give you that financial cushion. Now, the final benefit is the monthly contribution that you are doing attracts a tax relief. And this tax relief is controlled by the government. Currently, the tax relief is up to 15% of the premium, capped at 5,000 shillings per month or 60,000 shillings per year, as long as your contract is running for 10 years and above.
Oh.
So like now in your case, we are talking about 8 years. So the tax relief of 15% of the premium will not apply.
Will not apply.
Because the minimum requirement is 10 years and above.
Yeah.
So if you can review your term from 8 to 10, then you'll be able to qualify for a 15% tax relief, as I said, capped at 5,000. So 40,000 by 15% will be 6,000.
Yes.
So you'd have ordinarily be given 6,000, but because there's a capping, you only qualify for 6,000 shillings every month. Can you imagine what amount we talk about in 10 years? If you're getting 5,000 shillings every month, in 10 years, you have another 600,000 shillings, money that would have ideally have paid to the government, but has now been waived because of accepting to do a long-term savings.
A long-term savings.
And contractual investments are revolutionary. They are revolutionary.
Yes.
And now if you come down to my own particular program, which I kicked off with 3,000,
yes,
and at the point of maturity got 38 million shillings, and I appreciate the question that Titus asked. The first thing I would like Titus to understand is that, one, I never gave the 17 million shillings upfront. I started off at 3,000 shillings and only continued putting that premium, and which I increased over the years. That's point number one. Point number two, a significant input into my policy didn't happen at the beginning. It happened towards the end. Because at the beginning, my salary was very, very small.
Very small, yeah.
I was earning very little, net of about 10,900.
Yeah.
So in the first few years, I was not doing much. In fact, up to until the 12th or 13th year, I was not doing much. It is the later stage of my investment that now my income had actually now appreciated, and I was able now to accommodate a bigger element. In fact, at the point it was maturing on the 24th year, I was doing a savings of 347,000 per month. But here at the beginning, I was doing 3,000. So what Titus may not know is at what point did my input become significant? 100,000, 120, 170, 190. It was in the later stages. And I'm talking about 12 years after 12th year. Before the 12th year, I was still doing the 10, 20, 30,000 shillings contribution. It is way later in life that my contribution into that particular program increased. But even having said that, another element that Titus needs to also note is what I've just explained, that endowment policy is not just a pure investment. It is an investment that is enhanced with risk benefits. It is an investment enhanced with risk benefit. That is what endowment means.
Yes.
Endowment means an investment that is enhanced with risk benefits. And the risk benefits are to cushion in case of death, disability, and critical illness. So in as much as you're paying so much, you're also getting additional benefits courtesy of that investment. Yeah. And you cannot do a straight computation of saying that he's putting 10,000 to get this much. No. When you put in 10,000, what is the 10,000 shillings doing? A portion of it is invested, a portion of it is also guaranteeing you the risk benefits. That is why in an endowment policy, you cannot do simple computation of saying, I was putting 10, assuming, for example, you put in 10,000 shillings over a period of 10 years. Yes. If you put in 10,000 over a period of 10 years, you have put in about 1.2 million shillings. So assuming that particular policy gives you a maturity benefit of 2 million, don't say that the return is low. Because as you are doing the 10,000, what was the sum assured in case of death, disability, and critical illness? Those are added riders, which are also part of the contract that will also take care of the risks in case anything happens to you.
So here he had said his approximation was 3.6 to 4.5%, and I understand he does not have an understanding of how you grew the 3,000 to
The 349.
The 349 towards the end of the investment
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
But generally, maybe you can shed some light and tell us this contractual investment attract what percentage?
Good question. Now, before I answer that question, there's something I just remembered. I always talk about some of the financial blunders that people make with their investments or with their money. And I'm quite vocal in talking about people who do of analysis. They are over analytical. They are over analytical. I've explained that. The guys who, especially the engineers, we got accountants. They always like Excels. And I'm sure you're very good in Excels.
I have one.
Those guys who tell them anything that involves numbers, they will always go to the computer, pull in an Excel. They're trying to make sense of the numbers. It's a good thing. The only problem with being over analytical is that by the time you are finally making a decision, the opportunity is long gone.
Tell me about it.
A lot of, and these analysts, these people who overanalyze them situations, a lot of these people analyze themselves out of the opportunity. And I tell very, very frankly, even when I started my 3,000 shillings savings, I had such a person.
You're shouting.
Who was my good friend, and we're together in campus.
That person is me.
That person.
What did you say?
Yes.
You said we and.
You analyze yourself out of the opportunity or the situation.
We analyze ourselves out of the opportunity.
Yes. You had a chance to do it, but it took you 10 years to make a decision. By the time you're making a decision, the opportunity is not there. So you analyze yourself literally out of the opportunity. Now, let me tell you what. Consider this situation of me and my friend, who I don't name today.
Yeah.
That at the point I started doing my 3,000 savings, he felt he could have done better with saving somewhere else. But at the point I got my money in 2023 June, and we're still friends. We're still family friends. And I mentioned to him that, by the way, my program has matured. And I told him what I got and where I'm taking the money.
Yeah.
He was full of regrets. Full of regrets.
Did he invest
that 24
elsewhere?
Years later, most of the things he tried with his money failed. Most of the things he tried with his money failed. He had nothing to put his hands on to show a savings of 24 years. Today, that 38 million shillings is invested in a private wealth. And it is generating every 6 months 2.977 million. The 2.977 million shillings is enough to cover the education of my children. And today I'm not struggling to pay the school fees because that fight I built pain-free through the 24 years is now paying me a benefit every 6 months that is good enough to pay the school fees for the children. In fact, you have surplus for school fees for that matter. You can't use all that money in school fees, and especially considering that most of the kids now are getting out of the university. And that's the same thing that I want to sell, that same idea I would like our listeners to hear. That you can actually turn your situation upside down. You take a decision today. Don't become over-analytical. Because the point is, a lot of the people, in my own view, who were trying to over-analyze situation, 10 years down the line, they are still procrastinating. 10 years. You're still on the same numbers, still on the same Excel. And I have another perfect example I want to talk to you about. This is an interesting situation.
Alfred, you're really...
Interesting situation. I think I even mentioned this to you before. Approximately 13 years ago, there's this lady that I met who is a lawyer. And she had 2 sons, twin boys. And we talked about her investment and the investment for the children. And she loved the whole contractual investment to build a fund for the education of the children in the university. And she told me, Alfred, would you like to come to my house in South Sea? I would like my husband to also listen to this so that we can make one decision as a family. I went to the house on a Saturday and I met the gentleman. The gentleman works for Central Bank. He works for Central Bank.
I heard that.
By virtue of the fact that he's working for Central Bank, he has either done BCom, he's done maybe a degree in economics, maybe accounts, maybe CPA, the financial background.
Learned and exposed.
Yes. And this is a very learned guy from Western. Very learned guy. And the lady is from Taita. And a lawyer. And to the lady, numbers made sense and she wanted something done immediately. When I sat with the husband and took him through the same presentation, the guy was like, Alfred, this is very good. What you do, just give me about a week. I'll think through this I would definitely be calling in a week's time so that we can see what numbers will make sense for us. At that point, finished the conversation and I left. A week down the line, the guy never called me. 2 weeks down the line, he never called me. The wife called me again. Alfred, did you follow up with my husband? I quickly took my phone and called the guy. When I called him, he told me, Alfred, I'm still not decided on the amounts. Maybe why don't you let me to call? Why don't you let me to call you back? When somebody tells you that they call you back, you leave it at that.
You wait.
I never called him again. But I still remember that about 3 months later, the wife called me and told me, Alfred, it seems that you and my husband are not progressing. What I want, can we have another meeting, me and you?
Me and you.
So we met in town. We went through the same conversation and told me, Alfred, I wanted my husband in this conversation because I thought with his input, we could do something more substantial for the children. But because he's not getting ready as yet, I want to start with the little income that I have. I'm committing this much for my son and this much for my other son. And for now, this conversation is for this table only. Don't go telling my husband that I already signed up. Let's keep quiet. Let me start off. I'm starting with the little that I have. But for now, it is between you and me. And I kept quiet about it. Of course, that's a confidential matter for the client. We signed up the forms and she started the savings for 10 years for the boys. Today is 13 years. Now, let me tell you what. Do you know I waited for the man to call me back and he never did. On the 10th year, the 2 plans matured. And the boys were now ready for campus. I don't know which university they went, but they were ready for campus. What happened now, I reached out to the lady and told her, you know what? Your plans are now maturing for the boys. And as you remember,
was that like an education
he
policy?
took personal investment, but for each child.
Oh, I see.
She's the premium payer. She's the insured person. She didn't take from an education perspective.
I see.
Because the education perspective pays in installments.
I see.
She took her own personal investments, but the intention was to pay the school fees for each of the kids. So she took 2. Let me tell you something. When this account matured, and I told her about it, she remembered the very first conversation we had with the husband. So this time what she did, she told the husband without my knowledge that she wanted to have a meeting with him after work at Java Haringam. It's the one across here. The Java across here. So she then went ahead and told me, Alfred, I want to come on this date in the evening at 5:36. Let's meet at Java Haringam. I came to this Java. Who did I meet? The lady and the husband.
The gentleman.
When the husband saw me, he nearly froze and he remembered me. And then the wife was quick to ask, do you remember this guy? The guy said, yeah, the insurance man. The insurance man.
The insurance man.
You know the reference that people make of us out there. The insurance man. Then I sat down. The lady went ahead and told the husband, you know what? The reason why Alfred has come is because, remember that conversation we had in our house in South Sea and we were supposed to do something for the sons, for our sons? The guy said yes. When it took too long to make a decision, I called Alfred and requested him to sign up for the 2 boys. And as we speak today, the accounts have matured. Alfred was bringing me the documents for the discharge, so that I can sign. They are going to pay me this money in the next 7 days. At that particular point, you can now imagine what the husband was feeling. For 10 years, he never got to know that when the lady was investing. He never got to know. But now the plans had matured, and he is the father. He is the leader who didn't lead the family. You are the leader who didn't lead. It is the wife who is supposed to be giving the support that led the family. In this particular case, she is the one with the financial security for the children and not you. Now, this is a part that touched me the most. The lady requested that the money be directed to the joint account.
What?
She was not selfish. Amazing lady. Amazing.
I didn't see that
lady.
Coming.
She said, Alfred, I would like this money directed.
She had every intention of doing this for
securing
her
the family. For the family. It was not about who, it's about the family. She said, I would like this money to be paid to our joint account. Because the things that are going to be done for my sons, I would like them done by their father. They'll be too disappointed if they found out that I'm the one doing. And they thought their father is a hero. So for now, let the money go to the joint account so that my husband can withdraw from there and then we do the things that we are intending to do for the boys.
How much was it, if I may ask?
We gave this 35 million. It was a 2.5 maturity. 2.5. Yes.
But I mean, if you give me 5 million today.
Yes.
Battery change. So if you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
Alfred, how much was it?
Now, what I remember is that this lady signed up to contracts, each going for 10 years. And contribution for each of them was 12,500. Each contract was 12,500.
So that's
so
like
she was basically paying like 25,000 shillings every month.
Yes.
And she paid that over a period of 10 years, which would translate to something like 3 million. She was paid 5 million shillings on the 10th year. My joy is not even about the 2 million shillings extra that she made as a return.
Yes.
But the fact that she was disciplined enough to put aside a portion to give security to the children.
Yes.
Because there are many things that could have happened to her. Thank God, nothing happened. She lived through. But had anything happened along the way, the children would still have been given the financial cushion that they very much needed.
Correct.
For the education purposes.
Correct.
But now that nothing happened, they still had the 5 million shillings.
Yeah.
To be able to put now into the education of the children. You know, that's now the time when you realize that your children have both been admitted to Strathmore, and you're now starting to do the numbers that, hey, Strathmore is very expensive, I would rather KU. Now you're doing those numbers. You see, that's where we are. Because you have not saved, the kids have finished for year.
Oh, gosh.
They have both passed, and there's a degree they want to do in Strathmore, but now you are comparing between Strathmore and KU, between Strathmore and Mount Kenya University, between Strathmore and Egerton.
Yes.
You're
not comparing in terms of quality.
Egerton is cheaper.
Yeah,
you're
looking at price. Yeah.
You see, now start looking at the price.
Yeah.
Instead of what the child is ultimately like to get in terms of quality. We compromise on quality, especially where we have financial deficits or financial challenges. So to avoid shortchanging your children when the time comes, to avoid shortchanging retirement when the time comes, to avoid shortchanging the goals that you had, that you intended to buy a house in your Kimau. Now you might end up doing a house way further than your Kimau because of the price.
Yes.
So why don't you work with the goal in mind? The 5 million shillings to that lady at that particular time was revolutionary. Revolutionary.
Wow.
But for me, I know what the husband felt that time. That you failed on your duty. It's like, you know, a situation for me like this. You have a home. And for example, I'm using a bad example, but let me use it still. Just to show you at times how people feel. You, in that compound, in your home, you've got a guard. You've come home, hooted at the gate, the guard didn't open. You packed your car, came out, opened the gate for yourself, and only when you're driving in, the guard shows up. How do you think he feels? He is the one who's supposed to be doing what we are doing.
He didn't show up for the job.
He didn't show up for the job that you are paying for.
Yes.
Now, what do you think the man felt? He's the one who most likely would have been more responsible for the education of the children.
More educated, more exposed,
more educated,
more exposed when it comes to money matters.
Honestly, he is more exposed to money matters than the wife. The wife is a lawyer. Him is in the bank.
Yes.
Another thing, from the look of everything, he earns more than the wife by far. By far. But now, the little that the wife was earning, she sacrificed it for the benefit of the children. And 10 years down the line, she is the one offering the security.
Yeah.
Because you failed in the job. You slept in the job.
Slept on the job.
A lot of us, the men, are sleeping in the job. And even today, the statistics are glaring at us. 71% of those that are investing are women. Men are simply sleeping the job and saying that they are taking care of security, which is not financial. You wake up to the greatest shock of your life. When on retirement, you're retiring with 10 million, your wife is retiring with 70 million. Anytime you talk about a holiday, for you the only destination for holiday is Naivasha or Mombasa, and the wife is talking about Singapore. When you want to change your car, you're driving that old car there, your wife is coming home with a brand new Prado.
Yeah.
This is the biggest shock that you can actually experience. So I will continue reminding the men.
Oh gosh.
Please, let's do what we need to do. Don't make money and spend all of it on lifestyle. No one will care which lifestyle you had 10 years later. No. You had girls over the place to sponsor. No one will care. That's not an investment. By the way, having girls is not an investment. Contrary to what men think. Having many girls is not an investment.
Yes.
It's not. And especially if you're not taking care of your own. That can never be an investment. That 10 years down the line, you'll be remembering the string of girls that you had, but you have no pension. There's no girl that is looking for a broke man. They are only there if you have the money. If you don't, they'll not be there.
Yeah.
So please, let's be a bit conscious. As you make your money, even before you can pay that rent for that girl, if you have to, put some money in your own.
Make sure your 25% is already
put some money in your
invested.
contractual investment. It will give you security.
Use from
That
the
girl is not going
25%
exactly,
lifestyle.
Exactly. From the 25% that I've talked about lifestyle, you can take care of the girls there if you must.
If
But
you
the 25 for investment, let it remain in the investment, not
you must.
outside the investment.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So now we've looked at contractual investment and non-contractual investment.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say that when I listen to you, when you're starting out, especially the contractual investment, I think it builds your discipline. So is it safe to say that you can start there, but then also add a non-contractual investment, so that then you spread the risks and also the potential earnings, right?
Very good question. Remember, I've always talked about one philosophy of diversifying the scope of investment.
Yeah.
The moment you diversify, you reduce or you contain or control the risks that you're exposed to. These two programs are meant for different purposes. The non-contractual is majorly the element that will build your emergencies, because as I said, it's money you can access anytime you want.
The non-contractual.
Non-contractual is majorly the savings. It's where we're putting money in the money market for investment purposes, but money you can withdraw anytime you want. But the contractual one, you are locking that money for a particular duration, so that you can achieve a particular goal. And it requires discipline. It requires commitment. You get? So as you navigate your financial journey, it will be important that you can have some money going into a non-contractual to build your emergency. But remember, the threshold of 3 to 6 times. Don't overinvest in non-contractual, because the benefits coming in the non-contractual investments are lower than what you get in the contractual.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So, so maybe I should have asked that that question differently. Contractual investments. So, like endowment plans are like
contractual.
It's like a product under contractual.
Exactly.
Do you have others that exist?
Good question. I mentioned this
because I feel like they might have like different lock-in period. You could have 6 months, you could have 1 year, you could have 10 years, for example.
Okay. Now, under the contractual investment, I've talked about the endowment investment. We also have what people call here the education investments. It also comes under contractual investment. Because when you perhaps taking a plan for a child, let's say your daughter is 5 years, and you want to build a fund for paying the education in the university. A 5-year-old child will be going to university in the next 13 years. So you want to build a fund contractually in the next 13 years. Maybe the targeted amount is, say, 5 million. So in those 13 years, we'll work for you backwards to tell you this is the amount of money that you need to put in, either as a flat amount or an amount that you're going to be increasing at 5 or 10% for you to be able to have the 5 million shillings in the next 13 years. So that is also a contractual investment fund. We also have contractual life. A contractual life. And a contractual life, we're looking at something like a whole life.
Yeah.
We're also looking at a product called term life. These are schemes that are geared towards a coverage of the person that is insured for a particular period of time and for a particular sum assured. That I want to take a term cover for 20 million shillings to run for the next 10 years. Because I feel the next 10 years, I'm exposed to very high risk. Maybe the kids are in school. So during this 10-year plan or 10-year period, I'll be paying a certain amount of money. In this case, it will be lower than it would have been on the endowment. Why? Because the term will only pay if I die. There's nothing for maturity. There's nothing after expiry of the contract. Because it's only covering the risk. The premium compared to the endowment policy for the same sum assured will be much lower. So a 10 million shillings sum assured in term life and a 10 million shillings sum assured in endowment, the premiums will be very different. You may be paying about 75,000 shillings under the endowment and paying about 10,000 shillings under the term life. Because the term life will only pay if there is death. The endowment will not just pay if there is death, but if there is no death, it will still pay on the maturity.
Time lapse, yeah.
It will still pay on the maturity. So it has surrender value. the term life doesn't have surrender value. The day you stop, if you wanted to pay for 10 years and you pay for 3 years and you stop, it has no value. The value is only on death because you are covering death. Then the difference between a term life and whole life is that a term life is running for a specific period, maybe 10 years, 15 years. And if there's no death within that period, no claim.
No claim.
The whole life will run until the day you die, because one day you'll die. One day I'll die. It can be 10 years from now, it can be 20 years from now, it can be 30 years from now. But for most of the organizations, what they do, if you go for a whole life, you only pay the premiums up to maximum of 80 years. If you're still alive at 80, you're not paying more money. You'll not be given cover for free for the rest of their life. But the day you drop dead, they'll pay the sum assured on the whole life. So the difference between the two, again, we're saying contractual life, we have got the term life and we've got the whole life.
The whole life.
The term life will give you coverage for a specific period of time. If you die within the period, the claim is paid. If you die after that period, there's no claim. When talk about the whole life, it will give you coverage up to the day you'll die. Whether it happens the next 1 year, whether it happens the next 20 years, whether the next 40 years, you'll be covered as long as you're alive. The day you die, the claim is paid.
The claim is paid.
But most of the companies allow you to pay the premiums up to the age of 80. After 80, they'll give you cover for free until the day you die.
I see.
Yes.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot of information. Thank you so much, Alfred. I want us to cover in the next episode, because I feel like we've run out of time, but in the next episode, I'd like us to cover some of the fine print, because I have engaged with a couple of people who maybe have lost their father, their mother, or their husband, and who was covered. I can't quite specify whether it was whole life or term life, but the process of claiming has become quite difficult. And I think it's important also for the audience to sort of understand just the fine print, and so that they don't find themselves in that situation. Whether that's like a full medical, their annual medical checkup that you need to do, and you need to do it because in case of death and you lack that particular medical checkup, you might find yourself in a situation. I don't know what happens there, but I feel like you are in a position to shed some light. So I don't know if there's something we missed out on. We really talked a lot about contractual.
I hope our listeners learned
stuff
today.
I hope so. There's a ton of knowledge. I think I will actually need to rewatch this episode with my notes now that I didn't have a notebook. If you made it this far, thank you so much. If you have any questions about what we just spoke about, or the next topic that we are going to have, feel free to ask the questions in the comment section, and we will definitely consider answering some of your questions. If you would like to have a one-on-one session with Alfred Mathu, again, the link is in the description box. Just leave your details, and this very knowledgeable gentleman will get in touch with you and help you where he can. Maybe some last words, Alfred, before we wrap it up.
Thank you very, very much. And I'm really happy that we have had these conversations going on. The impact is more than you imagine today. And there are a lot more people out there who are learning how to manage their money better. I think for me, the greatest joy is to note that anyone that has made mistakes or blunders with their money, you can always start afresh. And there is hope, there is time. But your attitude is going to determine the ultimate results. So I want to encourage everyone, whenever you have time, listen to our podcasts, learn as much as you can, but beyond that, reach out to me. I'll be able to interrogate your current situation. I'll be able to give you accommodation, and you'll be very, very surprised. For only a very small premium, you will be able to have a turnaround on your financial planning. No one wakes up to fail. People only fail to plan. So please take this as a chance. We're giving you free services. Reach out. We'll be able to give you the advice that you need, and we'll walk the journey with you. I know from the time we started off these conversations, there are many people who have reached out. Many have had sessions with me online, others physical, and the impact has been enormous. And I'm quite impressed.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm happy. I'm happy that you're getting exactly the thing we purposed for you to get, which is assistance when it comes to your financial planning. please, can we not come back here in 2026 and you're still thinking with your Excel sheet? Because we've been called out. I even have an Excel sheet.
Guys of Excel.
After this, I'll show you I have an Excel sheet, because when this gentleman asked this question, I went, opened an Excel sheet, prorated, and looked and compared and whatnot, And I'm like, you know what? Just from this conversation, if I have like one key take home from this conversation is contractual investments build your discipline muscle, because they are contractual. You're committed and locked in for a certain period of time. And if you can do this for the next 5 years, there's really nothing you can't do when it comes to investment. You can literally make a commitment, see it through, and win. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Guys, I'm sorry if you've not seen my face towards the end of that video. It's because my camera went dark and we didn't realize it, but I hope you didn't miss out on any piece of that conversation, because I think it was so valuable. It's one of those conversations that you have that just blow your mind. And I'm hoping that you learned something new today. If you would like to get in touch with Alfred again, the link is in the description box. Click on the link, leave your details, and he will definitely call you to schedule like a one-on-one session with him. Like we are always saying, it's not a one-size-fits-all. We are all on a different journey. We earn differently. We have different responsibilities, so it can't be the same. And sometimes you need that one-on-one sort of like interaction. I think for me, the main thing I learned today is when I'm comparing contractual investments and non-contractual investments, I feel like contractual investments will build you up, because the more I'm listening to Alfred, the more that I'm just concluding, and this is, let me speak for myself, I'm making a conclusion that our biggest issue is discipline. We are just not able to commit to one thing, commit to it, and see it to the very end. And I feel like if me and you are able to commit to a contractual investment, whether that's 5 years, whether that's 10 years, however long it is, and just see it to the very end, you and I will win. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Leave me any comments, questions, or topics that you would like us to cover on our next episode, and I'll hope to see you there.